Welcome to Dancing Through It with your host, Leslie Cooney, the podcast where we share honest conversations about passion, perseverance, and the power of movement. My guest today is Meagan McGratten. I am so excited today because we have maybe one of my favorite people on the planet, and I hope she will soon become one of your favorite people on the planet. And I'm not just pumping her tires because she is my dance teacher. But we have the incredibly talented and knowledgeable Meagan McGratten here on the Dancing Through It podcast today. Oh, and it's gonna go off the rails, and I'm very excited about it. I will let Meagan introduce herself, but I feel like I should preface by saying we've known each other for probably close to 30 years.
Yeah.
I did the math today, and I was like, oh no.
We're not going to talk about it because we look really young.
We're not going to talk about it because we look so young.
We look so young. It's good.
And the thing is, for me too, I think once I found out how old you were, like when I was like, oh, there's not that much of an age gap between us as I maybe initially thought. Babies teaching babies. Not quite, but like.
Yeah, I was young teacher for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
I know, I'm not going to say I know everything about you, but I know a lot about you. But I want you to share who you are with our audience. So can Meagan let us know sort of your intro to who you are and how dance is a part of your life?
So I am a studio owner in Red Deer. I own Make Your Mark Dance. But I would say that dance has like been the biggest part of my life. It has been like, it's been my go-to place when I'm not happy. It makes me happy. My whole life has been like that. Dance was my home as a student when I was a young dancer. So my goal has always been to try create that feeling for others because I know what a difference dance has made in my life. Just the confidence it's given me and the joy it's given me. So that has been my goal, is just to kind of pass that along to other people. And I've been doing it now for over 30 years, which is kind of crazy.
Being very modest.
Well, I don't know what
modest
you want me
right now.
Say. Like, I don't know how you want me, like, what kind of an introduction you want. Like, do you want my bio? Do you want my resume?
I mean, if you go to the show notes in this YouTube video, you will all of her accolades are listed there. I guess maybe I'll say that we met in Saskatoon in the early 90s.
Yes.
And Meagan was my jazz teacher, and also ballet privates. I don't know if you remember that.
I do remember that.
I had to catch up.
Get caught up. Yeah,
I did. I remember. Did I catch up? I don't know.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. Yes.
Yeah, I think I did. So this woman is so, just for our audience to know, is like so important to me, and still to this day, I think too, and I hope you don't mind that this is maybe where we start, but I know it's something that's very like, don't do it, dear to both of our hearts, was I had a very normal human being body teaching me as a child, and without it being overt, it just made me see in real time, this is a real human in a real human body doing extraordinary things. And I know that you were not only that to me, but to so many people. Can you maybe speak to, in two parts, how that felt at the time and now reflecting back on it? Because I know, like, in my similar journey, it's two very different outlooks on that same time period.
I think, like, I didn't realize by just being who I was that I was doing anything to inspire people. I had no idea, because you've talked to me about this, and some other former students that you will know have talked to me about it. I don't ever remember speaking about it in classes. I still don't speak about it in my classes. When we talk about when I correct bodies, when I'm correcting my dancers, we talk muscles, skeletal, like anatomy. I'm not talking about, like, I don't use specific words like tummy, like just things like that, that like, and not even necessarily on purpose. Some of it's on purpose now because I know more, having moved forward from teaching,
Yeah.
but in my teaching career, but also just some of it is just, I just never thought to speak like that because I'm looking at dancers and looking at teenagers and young people. I already know how hard it is to live in a body that is not a dancer, stereotypical dancer body. Um, or what people assume was that. I had many comments made to me, and not just like, studios back then, you probably couldn't go to a studio in the 80s and 90s where there wasn't discussion about weight or body, or like, I just talking to other dance studio owners now or dance studio teachers, um, we're all sort of victims of that and trying to change that,
Yeah.
because we knew what it was to grow up in a place where it was very common to be told you can't wear that costume, or if you're going to wear that costume, you need to lose weight, or
Right.
you need to, right, like, or suck in your gut, or like things like that. So I don't think that I did it necessarily consciously. I think it was just something that I felt like, um, it just kind of came naturally to me because I didn't want to speak to people the way, that other people spoke to me necessarily, and not all the time, obviously,
No.
but enough that it resonated, and I can still remember those things that were said to me. So, yeah. And one of the things I have done with my staff before is a simple exercise. At our first staff meeting, we write down all the wonderful things someone has said about us. Okay, think of 5 wonderful things that someone has said about us, and then think of 5 terrible things that someone has said to you. And nobody can think of 5 wonderful things,
Yeah.
or like they could think of two,
Yeah.
one or two. But you could probably list more than 5 terrible things that someone has said to you.
Right.
So it's just, discovering the power of the words we have, and, right, so that it kind of brings it to the forefront of like, oh, I'm a teacher, I'm standing in front of all these young people, I need to be aware of what I'm saying, how I'm saying it, because they carry it with them.
Yeah. I think that's such a huge shift that I think we're seeing in general, or I hope we're seeing in general, or maybe just the people I hang out with, is that I think we are taking our learned experience from like, training in the 1900s, and then like,
I hate that when people say that.
I know that it's so awful. I hate it, but it is funny. But like, it's true because those words really resonate. And as the culture has shifted in a good way, I think, it allows us to be like, oh, I don't want to do that to this next generation of kids, or I'm very mindful of it. I mean, there are some times where like I'll hear the tone of my voice and I'm like, I gotta take a breath, man. Like, this is children's dance. You know what I mean? Sorry, I was giggling while you were chatting because I was thinking of just talking with my peers about costumes that we would have, and maybe we'll post some of the costumes, some of the epic costumes that you and I wore when we were training, because people don't understand some of the incredible costumes that we were blessed. And some of them were great, and some of them were not so great.
Because everything we did was a theme.
Everything we did
right?
was a theme, which I carry with me. Like, that is something I so desire to do. It was such a production that we used to do.
It was great. I learned like so much from that. But yeah, there was definitely like, there's only so many cute things you can be, and then you have to become a garbage can, or
a garbage can.
I was a knife. I was a knife, in a tap dance. I was a knife in Be Our Guest, like, so there's all sorts of.
I was going to say, I was like, but wait, were you a knife? Because you were also Cogsworth. Were you not?
Yes, I was Cogsworth. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I was always the funny sidekick.
But also
typecast.
But also, yes, typecast 100%. But also, like, now leaning so hard into that, I'm like, oh, those are the best roles. Like, yeah, okay, I want the pretty dress, but I'm like, no, I'd rather be funny on stage. That's really more my speed. I just want to go back to that. Talking about the productions that we used to do as a studio. I I have a hard time explaining to people how immersive they were, and that
Mhm.
how, even as a student, being a part of a large production like that really allowed me to see what it was like to work within not really a company setting, but that idea of like, you have your piece of rep within this giant piece. And if
Yeah.
you're not where you need to be, it really was immersive. And how did
Well,
you, as a creative, because I know now that's not so prevalent to have these themed shows, and I'm talking like we would, our ballet mistress would create an entire ballet with all of the ballet students plus leads, and then interactions between the leads in between. Like it was truly like the first half of our show was like a full show. How was that? How did you feel creating within that structure? Because also the jazz was also themed, but like a little bit less so. How did you
right.
feel that impacted your creativity, or did it?
I think in the beginning it didn't really because I was young. And
Right.
so I sort of needed those parameters, right? It was helpful for me to have um, guideline parameters on what I was doing. Like, here's this, your group's going to be. I had a group that were apples. I've had a group that were, like you would have these little like things or little Tinkerbells or whatever. But it gave me something to um, to work towards, right? It gave me something to work around. And then my music, even in the ballet part, my music would be chosen for me.
Right.
So she would pick all of that. But when it came to the jazz, because that was more eventually became more as I grew within the studio, the jazz second half of the show became more my half of the show. And so then I got to have a little more freedom there. And then eventually had lots of freedom and there was no right. I eventually became the assistant director of the studio. And so then I basically got to do whatever I liked and within certain
Reason.
reason, but yeah, within reason, but I got to do what I wanted to do, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like in the beginning it was really great for me to have that because I learned so much and learning not having to actually go into the professional world because I never did that. But learning how because our ballet teacher was in the professional world, she brought that to us
Yeah.
right? So teaching us about how things really work, about a prop table and like just some of the things that you don't even think about, right? Like having a prop table with the props, everything listed, and they get put back in the exact same spot, right?
Yes. Yes.
Like just some of those things, having a costume mistress, even like because she would be there at the show, right?
Yeah.
If we had something, we could go and get that fixed,
Yeah.
right? So just like certain things that if you didn't, I don't know, not growing up in that, you wouldn't have had necessarily that experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You reminded me the prop and I was like, why am I so crazy about that sort of stuff? And I'm like, oh, it's from that training. Like
Yeah.
I'm so like if it's not yours, we don't touch it. Like
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
so like I can
If
see the
somebody's quick
outlines.
change is set up, yeah, you see the outlines, right? And if somebody's quick change is set up, you do not touch it. Leave it the way it is.
I had
They
to,
have it set the way they want it, you leave it.
well, and then I had to teach my kids like they laid their quick changes out like pretty, like,
Oh,
and I
yeah,
was like,
not functional.
no. And I was like, okay, so like, great, we are learning. I love that you have set your quick change. This isn't going to work. Like, it
Yeah.
might, but like, we only have so much time. And so, yeah, passing on those things that you learn when you're sort of working within a large collaborative group, and especially when you have somebody who's worked in the professional world. Maybe that's why I also feel I'm like, oh, I just know that stuff, even though I didn't, yeah, like similar to you, didn't have a professional career, but I feel like I understand the theater a lot from that training, which is
Yes.
really,
Yeah.
really nice. It's funny to me that you say that you never consciously realized you were a role model, which like
Yes.
breaks my heart, mostly because I think I wrote you like 20 cards over the course of my
I
life.
still have them. I still keep all those. I have albums of them.
I
So
know.
I could
Well,
pull them out sometime. I
well,
should have done that for this.
I have a box full of cards. So when I have a bad day, I'm like, I'm not a trash human. Like there are people who
Yes.
care about me. I highly recommend every dance teacher does that. But it's wild to me that you didn't consciously know that. But I also understand it. And in terms of, you'd mentioned costuming, and I was thinking about like how like a ballet belt will still haunt me to this day.
Mm,
Costuming can be a bit dicey. And as a studio owner and director and also choreographer, I guess there's two things. One, not only being aware of body sizes and shapes, but also, non-binary or just even like really being cognizant of how students want to be represented on stage.
right.
How do those, like, what do those conversations look like? Are there conversations with your students, or are you just mindful of that when you go into selecting costumes? Like, what is the thought process, and how can we navigate that with grace?
So I think I've got a little bit of experience with having non-binary dancers. I have a little bit of experience with having trans dancers. Um, so I usually open up the conversation because if they've come out to me as non-binary or are going, beginning their trans journey, I want them to, I try and open up a conversation. So in general, I have found from my experience that um, the non-binary dancers that I've had were fine to wear the like we're fine to wear so-called female, so-called, right, more feminine
Right.
clothing or costuming. So, but it had that not been the case, I would have worked with that. Like I would have just like we could have found something that worked more. And I've seen it done now really well in several competitions that I've been at that I'm like, wow, that looks great. Everybody looks great. And I think we're at the point, like to me, we should be at the point we're creatives. We should be able to be creative around these types of things, right? So I should be able to find something that ties everyone together, even if it's not exactly the same. We
Yeah.
don't need to be cookie cutter about all of that,
Yeah.
right? So I sort of feel like if you can, I really try hard with my dancers, even from a young age, to build a rapport with them so that they can talk to me. Same thing with the parents, because you can say the same thing whether it's non, on the binary wavelength, or you can talk about uh, dancers of color and talking about tights and shoes and all of that. And I have, we've built a relationship with a dance workshop, and they have all the colors of the, whatever tights that can be represented, they have all of that. And
Amazing.
so I have dancers that have their point shoes are the color of their skin, their tights are the color of their skin, right? So like I think that it's, as a creative person, it's not that difficult. And I'm not running a dance company, I am running a dance studio. There's a very big difference between the two.
Right.
I need, like, I think that also comes into play.
Yeah.
So as a dance studio, I'm most of my dancers are not going to be professionals when they finish, right? But hopefully they'll be good humans. That's the point. And so I just want to work with them, right? And the more you have those conversations with your dancers, it's not awkward. It's not hard because you've built that with them.
Yeah. You make a very good point in that the only way to have those open conversations is to have already created a space where the students feel open and safe enough
Right.
to do that. I'm going to ask you how, because, oof, okay, slow down, hamster. So I have yet to name my brain hamster. They need a name.
I've never heard it called that before. I love it.
Oh, sometimes the hamster falls off the wheel when I just shut down.
Totally, but and I'm going to use that. I love it. That's awesome.
Or like
Hamster.
I'll see a student and I'm like, hamster's running. Let me know when you when they're done. Like obviously, like I know you and I know who you are and I know your heart. And you are like truly one of the most warm and welcoming human beings I have ever known. And also someone who I'm like, oh my gosh, that axle is on count 7, you guys. And if Meagan has to tell us one more time that that axle is on 7, and everyone, if anyone from that class is listening, you all know what dance I'm talking about.
Oh no.
We all know which one that is. That haunts me to this day. But
Patrick tells that, I have to say that Patrick tells that to our students now. That like our kids today, like our kids in the studio today know that story and know that the axle is on N7.
It's on 7.
Yeah.
Oh, this nonsense really just stays with you. But like I know you, and I mean I trusted you very quickly and very easily. How do you, as the art, I think sometimes as the owner of the studio, because you sort of have a larger than life presence, it's a little bit easier to build that rapport. I personally think, and I think that's probably because also too, I know the way that you work a little bit. But how do you create that safe space, or how do you build that environment so that not only you can have those difficult conversations with your classes, but say a teacher who works once a week? That's where I sometimes find it gets a little bit more difficult to have that sort of environment. So can you speak on how sort of maybe it's the culture that you build, or how you create that safety within the environment so that you and your staff can have these conversations with your students?
So I would say like the biggest thing that helped me honestly was COVID, because I became the leader that I didn't know I could be through that. And so I had to make all these hard decisions. I had to stand up for myself. I had to stand up for my business. And before that, I was nervous to do certain things. But going through my mentor always said, I would be like, how are you so confident? How do you do all of this? And she would always tell me, experience. Experience makes you confident. It's not the easy things, right? It's the tough things that you go through that make you confident, because you're like, oh, I can do that now. I've gone through it. I can do it. So I think that was a big part of it. And then because of that, I was like, I need to really get everything from up here and get it out. So what are my beliefs? What are my values? What do I think is important in a dance studio? How do I do that? And so with my faculty at the time, we created our 3 values that govern everything we do in the studio. So our 3 values are balance, growth, and connection. And those 3 things make every decision. They help make every decision that we make. And so the staff, when we have our meetings at the beginning of the year and throughout, the biggest thing I talk about are those 3 things, but also that connection. And you have to meet the kids where they are and treat them as human beings. There's not I think there used to be the teacher is up here and the kids are down here somewhere. And it's like, you need to actually, there's still respect. Absolutely. The teacher still needs to be treated with respect, but you get the respect by treating the dancers with respect. And so if you're not showing them respect, or you're just saying to them, do it because I said so, you're not going to get that rapport. You need to build, like, somebody might come in that's a more old school teacher and come into my class and be like, you talk to your kids too much, or your kids are talking too much. But I have built, I have built a rapport with them. And so I know that we're going to get what I need out of them, but I'm going to get it in a more authentic way and in a more, I don't know, like it's more, I don't want to say fun, but joyful, right? Because we're still working. But I think the biggest thing is to teach your staff, your faculty, even the person in the office, that we need to, you have to treat everyone with respect. And we got to meet them where they are, from the little all the way up to the teenagers. I think teenagers get a bad rap.
I love the teens.
I love the teens. And I really think they get a bad rap. I think that people sometimes write them off because, they're irresponsible, or they're just adults learning. Like they're young adults learning. They're going
and
through
the
stuff.
hormones, the
And
hormone.
yes, and they don't have the experience to make these decisions, right? They're trying to figure it out. So I don't know. I think that is the biggest thing, is to, if you know what your values are, if you know what kind of culture you're trying to create, one of the biggest things I think too is creating a culture where they don't feel like they're competing against one another.
Yeah.
Right. Where you're pushing each other. Yes, there might be, there's always going to be someone in your group that's the strongest. There's always going to be somebody in your group that's, on the other end of that spectrum, but it's a matter of pushing each other, and helping one another. And again, that's building the culture that you want. So, I want them to push one another. I do not want them to compete against each other. That is a very different mindset.
Yeah. So I will tell the kids, I like my kids now, because to try to get that, like, see your teammates as your teammates, not your competition, but also let them push you to be the best. Like, I had a really difficult time with that. But like, I don't know if you ever noticed, but like, I tried to go across the floor whenever we would do a jump combination. I made a point to go across with David because he could jump so freaking high.
Yeah, he was a really high jumper
He
for
was such
sure.
a high jumper. And so I say to
Mhm.
the kids, I'm like, when you're watching your classmates, I'm like, we all have eyeballs. Like, and folks are good at certain things. So if you
Yeah.
want to be a better jumper, go across the floor with the person who jumps really high and like make it a little game or competition for yourself. And I just think I was like, oh, that was such a great way to like do that, where I got to challenge myself, but I was never upset at David ever, ever. Like, I
No,
love that
no.
guy so much. So yeah, but I think that's the hardest thing to do, is to keep the competitive drive, but also the like teammateness that can get. I'm still working on how to like build that a little bit because it feels tricky, but also so
Well,
important to do.
well, and I think you also have to like, because that's the other thing of is treating the classes like teams, right? So these are your
Yeah.
teammates,
Yeah.
not just your classmates. These are your teammates. You don't get to pick your teammates, right? Just
Right.
like, right, you don't get to pick them. We
We
pick
do
them. Like, and
not.
I don't audition my students, but that's just how our studio
Yeah.
runs. But I know I'm not saying anything against auditions. Like that's not, it's just not what we do. But I feel like you also have to teach them how to have tough conversations within their, within their class. And we definitely had, I mean, I have had in the past where, dancers weren't getting along and I felt like it was above my, like I brought them in to have an open discussion. But I'm there still and they're worried about what I'm going to think, what I'm going to, they're worried about how I'm going to be affected by it or
Right.
if I'm going to think about them differently. So I ended up bringing in someone that was like, I brought in like psychologists and like
Yeah.
things like to let's teach them the skills that they need to have tough conversations without it being like a I don't like you, right? Like
Yeah.
or saying things, right?
Yeah.
Or often they talk about each other, not to each other, and that's not helpful,
Boy.
right? So
Yeah.
teaching them how to have, again, it's life skills. That's a life skill, being able to, when you go to work and you have an issue with someone at work, it's not going to help to go talk to someone about it.
No.
You have to talk to that person directly about it
Yeah.
if you actually want something to change. So,
Well, and therein lies the rub. If you actually want something to change,
right.
as
Or
opposed
do you want to
to
just get attention and talk about it?
talk
Like,
about it. Yeah.
yeah. Well, and I think too, it really, like, I have learned that, not everybody sees things the same way. Not everybody wants the same kind of studio. Not
Yeah.
everybody wants, some people want the super competitive, elite level. And that doesn't interest me because that stresses me out. Whereas to some people, that brings them joy,
Yeah.
right? Like that brings them, like they get really excited about it. I couldn't teach in a completely recreational space where there was no expectation.
Yeah.
I'd have to have expectations somehow. Like
Right.
for me to teach, I need there to
Yeah.
be expectation. So if there was a recreational system in place that had the expectation, then yeah, I could still do that. Right. Because there's
Right.
many different ways. Like I wouldn't think that where I started teaching was not a competitive studio. We did competition sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And then I created the competitive program within the
Right.
studio so that there was competition happening every year. But when I danced, we didn't always do that. But I think you have to know, again, it comes down to knowing who you are. And so even like, that doesn't bring me joy to be in that high stress situation. So
Yeah.
we're in the middle. I kind of say we're medium when it comes to like competition and stuff. We're
Yeah.
medium and
Yeah.
I like it. I can because then I can go to the theater and I can go to competition, and I know that I'm generally going to be amongst like-minded people, so it's fun. We look
Yeah.
forward to going to competition because I
Yeah.
know that those are my friends. The other studio owners and teachers are my friends,
Yeah.
right? And we don't look at it as competition. We're cheering for them. They're cheering for us. If they win and we don't, yeah, of course we're going to be, there's disappointment, but I'm
Of
still happy
course.
for them, right?
Yeah.
I'm not. I don't know. It takes that that negativity out.
Cutthroaty. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like that cutthroat kind of feeling, it takes that out, and nobody's like fighting with each other, right? And everybody is talking to each other, and that's what I want, because then the kids will do the same.
Yeah. And it goes back to what you were saying about how really understanding who you are and your culture and your values and putting that front and foremost for your staff, because everything trickles down. Personally, I think everything trickles down from the top. And I think personally, you need your staff to be relatively invested in like your culture and your values, or else it's not going to work as seamlessly, and the staff won't be as much of a team. And like I just think about Juliet, who was the owner of the studio. And like you say, we weren't a competitive studio, but it's not like there weren't expectations, and they came from her. Right. Did they ever come from her? And like funneled down into everyone, like you as a staff, you know, and like you said, I'm so glad you brought up the fact that like even your front end or your front of house desk staff also need to be on the same page. It's all working together, but I think you've really nailed it in terms of like having that culture and really understanding what you're trying to create in terms of a studio, as opposed to trying to be all things to all people.
Right. And you can't be all things to all people. And I know, like, I did try when I bought the studio, before I rebranded, when I bought the studio, I was trying really hard to honestly be something I wasn't.
Right.
Like, to be honest, I thought these are the things I need to do. I need to be, you know, it has to be elite level. It has to be, everybody has to do exams. Everybody has to do, you know, XYZ. And I just realized that that was not me, right? It was not me. It's not, and I had to go through some negative experiences to be like, I wouldn't feel this negative about this if it was for me, right? If this was actually for me, I'd be happy about this, right? I'd be like, I could fix that problem. But I was like, I don't want to fix this problem. To me, this is not a problem, right? And so I just was like, no, I need to, but through all of that, you figure out, I think anyway, for me personally, I figured out success is certain things you have in your mind.
Right.
Success is, you know, whether it's external, success is having a really giant studio. Success is having a fancy car. Success is being able to get that designer bag. Success, right? Like that's all external. But that was not going to be my path, because that is not how I view dance.
Right.
Or it turns out, as I'm going to be 50 soon, it turns out how I view success in life. Like I don't view it that way.
Yeah.
So, and once you kind of figure that out, you get real comfortable. Like I am so happy where I am, and so happy with the studio that I have. And I just discovered that all these things I thought I had to have to be successful, I didn't need that.
Isn't it wild?
It's really wild. And
it's wild.
I was fighting hard to achieve these things that in the end would not have brought me joy, would not have made me happy, right? Whereas if somebody else, if that is what like, honest to goodness, there's a place for all of it. So, right? Like I think there's a place for all of it. And I think it's just a matter of you finding your place in all of that.
Yeah.
But there's so much noise, and it's hard there's so much noise, and you know, whether it's from social media or just the people that are surrounding you, right? But what I've discovered is creating the values. Now I'm attracting right? I'm attracting like-minded people, whether it's my faculty or the parents that come, or, you know, the dancers, like people that hear about us that you know, grapevine, whatever, come to us because they like what we do and how we do it. Not even just like what we do, but the how.
Oh, I think the how is like, dare I say, I think the how is more important, and that is how you attract your people. And if you're thinking in terms of being a studio director, in terms of the business, if I'm attracting folks who are attracted to the how and like the how and feel valued, I don't have to worry about trying to like keep up with
right.
I've got them, unless something crazy happens. We're aligned in like what we want for our child's dance education. So they're with you. You know, you don't feel that like tension of like, oh my gosh, are they gonna like, I mean, obviously you're always like, looking at numbers and clients and whatnot, but like I do feel that once you really put out there who you are and who you're for, those people just come and they are with you. Like
Yes,
they are
yeah.
so with you. I have to go back. I was like gonna be an Oprah and be like, say who like I know you love. Um talking about how you felt like the things you had to do. And I feel like whenever I get into that space, I can kind of start to feel resentful. But you made such a good point of the difference between when something difficult comes up and you're like, I can fix that, as opposed to, I don't want to fix that. Or
Right,
like, I don't want to, I can deal with that. I don't want to deal with that.
right.
And I think that just really like, I'm going to like meditate on that for a hot second, because I think that's when I know I'm out of alignment or I don't like
Yeah,
how something is running. If
yeah,
I'm avoiding it, which is
yeah.
my favorite thing to do.
Oh, I was doing that all the time. I talked to my
Of
office person
course.
this, like I was doing it all the time. I was like, I honestly did have like this, I had to go through some mental health issues
Yeah.
to like fully figure things out as
Yeah.
well. Because I was having full on panic attacks because my body was saying, no,
Yeah.
you don't want this. This is not
Yeah.
for you.
Yeah.
Right. And it was like, I wasn't listening and I wasn't listening. This is an Oprah moment because Oprah always talks about like, you get hit on the head lightly and then a little bit lighter and
Uh-huh.
you're not listening and the brick hits you on the side of the
A
head,
hundred
right?
percent.
Until
Yeah.
you're listening. And so my body was telling me eventually was like, you cannot do this anymore.
Yeah.
And so I was having these full on panic attacks and things like that and unable to do my job properly until I realized, oh, it's not that I can't deal with it. It's really that I don't want to.
Yeah.
And so then I had to change. And your body will tell you, and it is like intuition. It is, but I said to my office person, like at the beginning of at the, when we start to talk about the new season coming up, there was people that wanted to have meetings with me, and there would have been, even 2 years ago, I would have been like, oh, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. And
Right.
now I'm bring them to me. Let's have this meeting.
Right.
I'm excited to talk. Like
Yeah.
I'm not. This is not bad. This is people wanting to have a discussion about their child. That's not bad,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? But there would have been a time, but again, because I didn't have the people that were for me in my
Right.
business.
So you
So
are kind
then,
of scared about those conversations because you're
yeah,
like, I don't think we're coming at this from the same place.
right,
And what am
yeah,
I going to have to say that doesn't feel right for me to try to keep this client?
yes, to try and keep them. And it was always like I was trying to keep them, and it was like, but I'm obviously not for you, right? But I struggled so hard with that because then I must be a failure,
Right.
right? I must be a failure because those people don't like me. People pleaser, right? I'm a recovering people pleaser. You can't run a business and be a people pleaser.
Gal.
Like not like a full on people pleaser. Like yes, you want to make
Recovering. Recovering.
100%. I'll be recovering for the rest of my life.
Me too.
So like 100%. But I think that makes a difference though when you can kind of come to that conclusion of like I'm not for everyone and that's okay. Like
Yeah.
it is okay. I and they should go find the people that belong to them.
Yeah.
Like you want more than what I'm giving. I can't change. I'm no longer going to change.
Yeah.
I can adjust. You can always, there's always growth. I'm not talking about not growing or changing
Right.
because you want to make something better or, oh, that didn't work. So let's find a way to make it work.
Yeah.
That has to be in a business. You have to evolve. But also is a point where it's like, that is not what I am for. That is not what I
Yeah.
stand for. That is not so, but there are places that might be better for you that offer that. And that's good.
Yeah.
Like, and I have nothing against something that's higher, more competitive. I have nothing against that. It just doesn't, yeah, like I keep saying, it doesn't bring me joy. It
Yeah.
doesn't fulfill me. It
Yeah.
stresses me out. So I don't
Yeah.
want to live my life stressed. I would have closed if I had to keep running it the way I was running it, I would have had to close
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I wouldn't have been able to sustain it. I was already, I mean, having panic attacks, your body is telling you can't sustain this.
Yeah. It's not fun.
No.
And
So
I would be interested. Well, again, think first, talk second. one, I want to thank you so much for being so open and vulnerable in talking about your mental health in terms of being a studio owner, because I have also had like massive struggles, which is so funny because like again, as you get older, I don't know if you do this, but you kind of like play back your life and you go, oh, and you see little like signposts and you're like, oh, for crying out loud. Like, couldn't
Yeah,
someone have, but we just, you know what you know when you know it. And when you
that's
know
right.
better, you do better.
That's right.
So like, but I think there's something to be said, and maybe I hope I can maybe talk to somebody on this podcast in terms of the mental health of dance teachers and studio
Yes.
owners, because it can feel vulnerable because you are a leader, and so you have to sort of have this, whether you're the owner of a studio or even just a teacher, because like I'm like you're leading that classroom for an hour or
Yeah.
however long you're in there, and that, yeah, those mental health struggles can really impact your work, and
Mhm.
and you're in a profession you love or you think you love, because you're like, well, why am I feeling this way? Like I'm
Yeah.
literally doing something I feel like I was born to do, but inside me is like this totally different feeling. So yeah, thank you for sharing that and for being so vulnerable. And I know I empathize and see myself in that, because I also like went through my
Yeah.
own, and still I will say like on the process of healing too. But so I hope that there are other teachers and studio owners listening who are like, oh, relatable content. Like I see you, I am you. Like,
Well, and yeah. And I think the more we talk about it, the more we realize, oh, we are the same. Like we have so much in common,
yeah,
right? That there's always, I think, if it's when we don't talk to each other, I know this all sounds so cliche, right? But it
it
is
does, but
like
it's true.
but if we don't talk to each other, then we can easily differentiate each other, right? Like you're
Yeah.
other. We can easily other everyone or make stories up. Like I can say, oh, because I see this on social media, they have it going on. They have really got it together, right? And then I don't because they have it together. That must mean I don't have it together. But in reality, if I was talking to them face to face, right, they'd be like, oh, girl, like, let me tell you, this is what happened
100%.
to me yesterday, right? Or whatever. So I think, again, it's like, you're saying to me, like, how do you create this feeling amongst your students? It's like, but we talk. Like I tell them,
Yeah.
hey, I have had anxiety. I have had anxiety attacks. I have had, a panic attack, at age appropriate, but like,
Of course.
I'm not telling the 8-year-olds that, but like, when you get to have those the teens, when they are really going through it, it's like, well, here, I can relate,
Yeah,
right? This is not you're a human being. You're just a human being.
truly.
So yeah.
Yeah. I think that's maybe one of my favorite things now. And maybe it's what drew me to doing this as a job, which like I'm dying to ask you, like, if you saw this in my future of like me obviously being a dance teacher, because I don't feel like I really picked it, but I just like fell in, like it just ended up doing it. You know what I mean? Because people are
Yeah,
like, well, how did you decide? I'm like, I don't know. I just kept putting one foot in front of another, and then that's
that's
what I was
right.
doing.
Yeah.
But I feel like I'm able to bring that humanity. Like, I think that's my favorite part in whatever I do, whether I'm in the studio, which that happened way sooner. Like I really got comfortable. Like, this is who I am in the studio. This is how we're gonna work. We're gonna have so much fun. As soon as you start messing around and taking advantage of how much fun we're having, it's not gonna
Right.
be so fun. And
Right.
but it can also like swing back around, like once we kind of all get back on track. And now that I'm adjudicating, or teaching, workshops or quote unquote master classes like at these events. And then I just get to be myself and bring
Yeah.
my humanity to those classes where the kids are like, oh, like there's an expectation, or you think about, who this person's going to
Yes.
be in your head. And I'm just like, yo, what's up? Like,
Yes.
I'm
Yeah.
running late and I'm really stressed. Like,
Well,
and
and
the kids
you
see a
have
human.
and I think it's easy to have imposter syndrome. Like I think it's so easy. And coming from someone who, like, I always loved ballet. Ballet did not always love me because it is such a exacting discipline, right? And there's a lot of stereotypes that go along with it. And I obviously, not having that stereotypical ballet body, struggled a lot with those things. But then getting, I was able to get my RAD certification. That was something that was really important to me. And I ended up, it took me a while, but I got it. And now getting asked to teach quote unquote master classes or
Yeah.
like right workshop classes at competitions as the ballet person, it's like I didn't dance professionally.
Yeah.
I didn't, right? But I teach ballet. That is what I teach. Like I
Yeah.
am the ballet teacher, right? So, and I have all this experience teaching ballet and I have my own way of doing it.
Yeah.
Um, right? There's all sorts of what I've learned from that is that, and like meeting people that do have that professional experience. And I would have them up here on this pedestal and then you meet them and they're a human being just like
Yeah.
you,
Yeah.
right? And you talk to them and you realize, oh, by talking to them, I'm like, I do know something because they're agreeing with me and I'm agreeing with them and they have all this experience, right? So I think having that imposter syndrome sometimes it's hard, but then getting into those situations and actually talking to the people that you've had on a pedestal, not that we shouldn't like respect them and have
Right.
reverence,
Of
like
course.
reverie a word? Reverence. I don't think reverie is a word. I'm not sure, but reverence for them,
Yeah.
right? Like I think that's all well and good, but also to be able to just relate to them, teacher to teacher, right? And
Yeah. Yeah.
recognizing that, like I would think, oh, they probably only teach the best of the best. But then when you talk to them, they're like, no, no, I have, some of them probably do just teach in a ballet school, and that's fine.
Right.
But some do teach in a regular studio that they're like, no, no, I have kids that have a hard time standing in first position too. Like I've got kids that can't get their body to line up the way it's supposed to be too. So
Yeah.
I think there is that bit of, like I said, imposter syndrome, partially maybe because of not having professional experience as a dancer.
Yeah.
Maybe that comes into play a little bit, but it's like I've made my living as a dance educator and I'm a professional teacher.
Yeah.
So, right, like I think it's how we define it for yourself.
Yeah. And I think too, I'm coming to terms with because that was something that I struggled with. I was like, oh, I'm never going to get booked. People aren't going to hire me because I haven't, you know, been a
Your
backup.
resume isn't X,
Yeah.
Y, right? Your
Yeah.
X, Y.
And then as I've kept working, I'm like, oh, except that I have like real boots on the ground. Like, how do I get this kid who literally walked off the street in September to like
Yes.
do a single, whatever the
Yes.
case may be? And I'm like, oh, I have a real special sauce. Like, there's something about my practical knowledge of actually working with kids because when you're in that professional space, it's a lot of peer to peer, it's a lot of adults, and how you work with adults is not the same as how you train youth recreational, even if they're competitive dancers. So I
Yes.
think, yeah, it's
Well, and I
taken me
think
a
too,
while to like feel okay about
yeah,
my experience.
right. Well, and I think too, you're seeing more competitions gearing towards hiring actual dance teachers
Yeah.
because I mean, I've seen it both ways. I've seen, obviously nothing is perfect and there's no
Oh,
perfect recipe for anything, right? But I mean, I've definitely had it where it was the professional dancers that were adjudicating, but have no idea how long it took me to get that 6-year-old to plie while holding their arms held nicely with a smile on their face, right?
100%.
Like they just don't understand that. And so I think there's a lot of I just have noticed there's a bit of a change happening
Mm-hmm.
where in the competition world they are hiring more dance educators.
Yeah.
And I think that's why, because the feedback, and we should be getting better feedback nowadays because everything is recorded, right? So you're not relying on a writer to
Yeah.
write down what you're saying and only getting half of what you said,
Yeah.
right? Like the feedback should be better because not only do the students get the video to watch themselves, but they're getting a voiceover. So
Yeah.
that's in live time. So to me, that feedback should be the best it's ever been,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So there's no reason for um, to get very little feedback or and sometimes sometimes adjudicators are more blunt, right, or whatever,
Yeah.
but I can handle that. I just want some feedback, right?
Yeah,
But I
for
think
sure. Yeah, it's crazy
again,
because
that's
it was so funny. I was talking to someone the other day, and I did a couple of events that I had writers for, and this was the first year I'd ever done that. And
smart.
it gave me such insight because that was the feedback that we got, like when you took us
Mhm.
to competition, and it felt so blunt and it felt so aggressive, like we were like trash. And I'm like, oh no, they're just like they only have so much time and they cannot
Right.
give carpal tunnel to this person.
That's right.
And I'm just like, okay, like
Yeah.
it's been so beneficial for me to be on the other side of the table.
Yeah.
Um, it's just
Do you
given me,
find it makes you a better teacher? Like
oh
being on the other
yeah.
side? Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, yeah, which if you are a dance parent and you're listening to this and you feel frustrated that someone in your studio staff, maybe your child's teacher or someone else's teacher, is absent because they're adjudicating at competition, I just want to say they are coming back with so much knowledge. I don't know if that's how you feel, but like
Yeah.
it's always like I try my best to schedule myself so that I'm not double booked in my
Yeah.
adjudicating and having my commitments for the studio. But it's also been so great to go out, see what is out there, look at things with different eyeballs and through my lens, and then come back to the studio and be like, oh, I got to talk about this, or like, oh, that's a
Yes.
hole that like I have not been focused on with my kids
Right.
because I've just been in this lane. And I don't
Yeah.
know if you feel similarly when you're adjudicating.
Yeah. Like I feel like I know my dancers are like they either love it or they really don't love it when I come back because I'm like, okay, now we got to work on this
Yeah,
because
yeah.
you do get so focused. You know, you're seeing this routine, this piece week in, week out, and you know that this part over here on stage left is just never gonna like it's like your eye always continually goes to stage left, but meanwhile you haven't paid any attention to what's happening on stage right, right? Because your eye focus is just going to like what you automatically know. And
Yeah.
then I start thinking too, am I not because I'm constantly giving that attention over here, are those kids now just not giving am I not giving them a chance to just like do it? And then they're losing out on because maybe if I just give them a chance to do it and not focus so hard on that, they would just get it.
Yeah.
Right. But they're still waiting for me to be like, oh, she's going to stop us now. Oh, she's going to stop us now. Right. So I
It's
start
the
thinking about
I
that
can do a
too.
triple as long as no one's looking at me.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So I feel like there's that whole thing too.
Yeah.
But I definitely feel like adjudicating has made me a better teacher and more understanding and seeing, all sides of the equation, right? When
Mm-hmm.
when I go to a competition, I understand that the competition is also a business and that
Yes.
director is, working on things. The adjudicators are working on things.
Yes.
Nobody is trying to do a bad job,
No,
right?
no.
Like there's nobody is trying to do a bad job. Things happen, just like things happen in my studio that don't always go the way I want them to. It's the same thing at an event, right? So it's made me more understanding of the whole process.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite, like, what's your favorite thing about adjudicating?
Passing on information. I think I really do enjoy talking to the dancers when I get a chance to. Because I think it's like, I really think, I know the word judge is in there, and that is part of what we do. Because you are sort of ranking things, right? So there is that, depending on, I mean, different on I feel different on a panel because it's all
Yeah.
being averaged and
Yeah.
you're not so much picking the first, second, third, or however they pick
Yeah.
it, right? It's just the marks together. But I do enjoy, like, I don't like that word judge always. I think it's just an extension of teaching. Like to me, it's like I'm just teaching.
Yeah.
I'm just getting up there and if I'm talking to the dancers, I want to inspire them. And they're in a really vulnerable place. It's already vulnerable to get on stage and perform for an audience.
Yeah.
Um, whether it's a group or a duet or a solo, doesn't matter. But then now you're also going to get some feedback on stage, depending on what kind of, whether it's festival format, competition format.
Yeah.
And now you're getting feedback in front of an audience too. That's vulnerable.
Really
So
vulnerable.
trying to make like so vulnerable. So trying to make them feel like, hey, this is a safe space still. You
Yes.
can, like I'm here for you. I want you to grow. And hopefully by the end of this weekend, you'll have learned something that's going to help you in the next, moving forward. That's what I want.
Yeah.
But creating that atmosphere of
Yeah.
safety is
Yeah.
important.
Okay, well, that kind of takes us right into the last segment, which I'm trying to make a lightning round, but the questions aren't really geared
Yeah.
to being a lightning round. First thing is, what has been the biggest lesson that dance has taught you?
I would honestly say, from my perspective, perseverance and resilience, those two things. Because nothing for me personally, I found joy in it, but it didn't come easy to me. My body did not want to cooperate and do all of the things that are required. And I was a late bloomer, which I'm really happy about. I danced until I was 32. I kept taking classes until I was 32. And then there just wasn't classes for me to take when I moved to Red Deer. So that's kind of when I stopped. But yeah, perseverance and resilience, because I've had to go through some really tough things and I've come out the other side stronger. And I know I can do the hard things.
This one I like because it feels a bit controversial. What is maybe the what's a not so pretty or not so shiny, or you may say ugliest trait that you recognized about yourself that you also learned through dance?
That I'm a bit competitive, that I can be really judgy. So like, and especially sometimes I can be really jealous.
Yeah.
So that's really kind of an ugly trait, and I catch it in myself, especially when I'm looking at things online, and I know that I really know in my heart of hearts that that wasn't an easy thing, most likely for that person to do. But as a person that had to work so hard and overcome so many things, sometimes it looks like when other people have it easy, it makes me mad.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's ugly, and I really try to catch myself when it happens.
But also too, like I'm just so in the camp of like those feelings exist, like, and to pretend like they don't exist is also
Yeah.
to pretend like part of you doesn't exist. So I'm just always curious about that. Is there anything artistic right now, maybe a book, a song, a playlist, a television show, a movie that is making you feel creative or making you feel inspired?
I'm right now, I'm not in a creative space.
Yeah.
Like I am, like I just finished the season and I'm trying to like, yeah, like I'm kind of out, but I'm also trying to like, I've been making a rhythm calendar all season for the
Mhm.
studio so that things can just run more smoothly. Trying to work on delegating. And so my brain is not in a, like it's in a creative place, but not in a like artistically creative
Right.
place. Like I do get creativity from music if I'm,
Yeah.
but I have to also, I don't know, I feel like this is just years of being in the dance world. I don't like to like come home and listen to anything. Like when I come home from the studio, I don't have a TV on. I don't like to have a TV on. I don't like to listen to music. I don't like, I just need it quiet. And I don't know if it's because I've just really become introverted in that way. But yeah, if I listen to music, it's really purposeful. It can't just be in the background. I like have to like actually want to sit down and like have it. I
Hmm.
know that's kind of odd. Yeah.
No, what's so funny is I know a lot of dance teachers who like drive home in silence
Yes.
and like will come home and then I'm like, I need a podcast because I've only been talking to children for 6 hours and
Yes.
I need an adult. I just
Yes.
need an adult
I
voice.
think of like teaching dance, you are performing.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you are
You're
performing.
on.
If
You're on
you're
100%.
on, right? You're on. So if you're teaching for 6 hours, when by the time I'm done, like I can remember being a young teacher and being like, oh, it's 10 o'clock at night. Who can I go out for a drink with? Right?
Yes.
There is no way that would be happening now. Like
Yeah.
there is no way. So yeah, I like to come home and just like sit with my Lola and sit on the couch and do nothing.
I realize I have to take that back because I definitely dissociate in the car in the driveway. Like I will get home, turn off the car, and immediately scroll Instagram. And Ty will text
Uh,
me and be like, are you
are you
just
coming
sitting in the
in?
driveway? And I'm like, yes, I am. And then I had to explain to him, I was like, I don't know why I need to do this. But I did realize I was like, oh, that's actually the drive home isn't the buffer. The buffer is me taking that like maybe 10 minutes, which is probably too long,
Right.
in the driveway to be like, okay, now this is the transition. And now I'm going into like my life
Right.
because I most of the time when I come home, my partner is there. So I'm
Right.
like,
And I
I
think
also have to interact with that human. I have to
Yes,
prepare
yeah.
myself.
And I think I don't really have to do that. Like I
Yeah.
don't have to. So I think that's a big difference. Like I can just come into my house and just
I mean, like I
have that
could
and
too,
sit.
but I'm also like, I want,
Yeah, of
I
course.
would like to pretend like, I mean, not every day. Sometimes I'm like, I got to shower, bye. And
Yeah.
just
But I
that's,
get that. Like you have someone that you're communicating with and you have a relationship with, and there's a whole different thing for that too.
oh
So
yeah, poor guy. I guess my last thing is if you had a message for dancers or anybody who's listening to this, which I hope again, I hope our audience really skews kind of wide of dancers, dance educators, choreographers, and even like dance parents, because I think we're all part of this community. Um, do you have a word of wisdom or do you have something that you like to share um, for those folks to take away from this episode, or just like a philosophy or something that you do like to offer up to your students?
I honestly think that the biggest thing is that we're human first and dancers second. Um, Speaking from experience of someone that put everything I have into dance, and now I'm like, oh, I'm 50 and I don't have a lot of outside things going on,
Yeah.
right? Like that's hard. And so I think in big scheme of life thing, I think that's really important. But I also just think in their little bit of time that they're at the studio, that they see themselves as human, meaning that we see each other as human beings first, so that hopefully we'll treat each other with more kindness. And even if someone's kindness is just like saying no, right? I can't talk about that right now or whatever, but yeah, I just think that if we can see each other as human first, that makes all the difference. And then when they get to their dance component, they can bring their authentic selves into it, into their artistry more too.
You guys, this is why I love her. And not just because we're definitely on the same wavelength and she trained me and I feel like her mini, so I have been called her mini me many, many times in my life, which is like the ultimate compliment for me. I also feel like, I don't know, this would be a really good time to like spread some dirt on me if people wanted to know. This is the woman to ask if there's any dirt on me
I
outside of
don't
my
think there's really any
curated
dirt.
outside of
No.
my curated space. I did want to know if I'd caught up. And I'm always curious to know if you thought I was a good dancer. I think about it a lot.
Yeah, of course I did. Why wouldn't I have thought that? Of course I did.
Look, I know, I know.
But that's because we question ourselves. That's why, right?
I
Because we're
know.
always
And I
questioning.
care. I'm still to this day, I will say, Meagan, now, even though this feels a little bit uncomfortable, she is a friend and also a mentor. And I still look up to her and I consider her like a big sister. And also, I still always want to impress her because she'll always just be my teacher, even though now I think I could potentially say we're colleagues, but that also feels a little uncomfortable.
But we've also had
No,
this
we've had this
conversation.
conversation, but it's
Yeah.
still true.
Where
So
I've said this to you because I want to say this because you just said that, or I've said to you that it's you have to do these things, right, for intrinsic value,
yeah,
because otherwise I say this to my dancers too, right? You have to do the things for intrinsic value because otherwise you will always be at the mercy of other people's opinion.
it's true.
And we don't who want you lose all your power
Yeah.
when that happens, right? I get it because I always want to impress my dance teacher as well. I understand that concept. I do, but I also yeah, I also want you to know that you like I had to learn that, right? That I am worthy all on my own without having somebody else being in anyone else's shadow,
Yeah. Oh,
right?
it's a lot
So
more
you
balanced now. Now it's
yeah,
like say it's a good barometer as well. Like, would what I'm doing make the people who love me proud? Or
well
would they
that's good.
kind of think like, ooh, that doesn't align with who you are? I think that's maybe more of what it's like of like
Yeah.
they're,
And that's more healthy for sure, right? Yeah.
we're
Yeah.
hey man,
Yeah.
we are getting there. We're getting there. So on that, thank you so much, Meagan, for your time. If you want to connect with her, she is on. Maybe you can share your Instagram handle for the studio, and if you're open
Sure.
to
Yeah.
folks following
Um,
you.
sure. So the Instagram handle for the studio is at Make Your Mark Dance. And then for myself, it's at Meg McG 1975.
Those will be in the below in the YouTube show notes, so you can follow Meagan on Instagram, because the studio is really inspiring and she's really inspiring, and obviously because you've just listened to all of her wisdom and amazingness. So thank you again for joining us on the Dancing Through It pod, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for joining us for this episode of Dancing Through It. Connect with the Dancing Through It community over on Instagram and follow me at Leslie Cooney. And maybe let's put some pictures of ourselves from when we were younger in our costumes.
I just did all of I'm caught up on my albums for that, so I could do that.
Well, Jill did mine like years ago when I went to university. So I have all of them in 2 giant binders. And I will often bring them, like last class, like if we have a class after a recital, I will bring them in and be like, none of you can say a word.
You cannot complain
about what you are wearing ever.
Yeah, ever.